Hi, welcome back, everybody. This is Mark S. McNutt here, and I'm going to be talking about astrological happenings in the coming time. This is the new moon in early March, and we're looking at Venus retrograde. We're looking at a total lunar eclipse, which people don't get as excited about, but very influential. And then there's a partial solar eclipse at the end of the month as the sun and moon go into Aries together. So people are also interested in Pluto and Aquarius and all the crazy, shall we say, transformations that are going on right now in government and otherwise, and socially. And yeah, there's a lot going on. It's kind of hard to sort it all out because it's definitely whelming, and so my job now is not to talk about everything that's possible right now, but to hone into what are the places of deepest curiosity. So I'm going to be focusing mostly on Venus retrograde today. I take retrogrades very seriously. They're a reordering of the energy, a restructure. They're a release from the past. We just went through Mars being retrograde up until February 23rd for 2.5 months there. Every 2 years, Mars goes retrograde, then Venus goes retrograde. They kind of do it in a different order from each other, but sometimes they converge. And that's what's going on now. So back to back. So it's, there's like the whole thing of the chicken and egg and all that. And we're having real shakeups in government, and it's like, well, it's all these shakeups, all this intensity of Pluto going into Aquarius, is that really the stimulating cause, or is it an effect? And basically. There are portents in the sky. We had a double moon last fall, with a moon and a comet in play with each other during election time. We had all kinds of things. So yes, the omens are here. They're rampant. But what we want to focus on is your personal well-being, who you are. So Venus is the planet of love and relationship, and how we kind of open up our sacred space for each other, how we make space, how we invite people in. So Venus is about kind of like the collective aspect of all of us together. Venus is most challenged in the sign Aries, where it is now and where it's starting its retrograde. Why? Because Aries is a sign of the personal self-will, and so people with Venus in Aries who are born that way basically are very independent in terms of love, relationship, and it's the opposite of being codependent. So Venus in Aries is like kind of its own wild card kind of energy. Venus is most comfortable in Libra, where it's about partnership and relationship and the give and take and so forth. Well, guess what? There's not really a lot of that in the stars right now. There's not a lot of give and take. There's, the battle lines have been drawn, and there's, on a personal level, Venus is going to really affect how we all go about our dealings with each other. It's not the easiest time for that. So here on March 1st, Venus went retrograde at 10 degrees Aries, and then it continues to go backwards, going into Pisces and kind of lingering there for a while. And it takes a while. It takes so the middle of next month, Venus will come out of retrograde technically, but there's always a shadow energy that accompanies that. So as we see Venus, when Venus is retrograde, matters of personal cooperation and how we get along with each other, that these are sort of more challenged. I always look for the bright silver lining with it. And what Venus retrograde is good for is there's a potential for healing of the past that goes along with Venus retrograde. So I always see that there's a lot of hope in there because there's a definite clearing, kind of in the same way that that you might really want to have that tooth pulled out because it's really hurting you, and then at the moment it's getting pulled out or drilled or whatever, it hurts a lot more, and then it moves on. So Venus right now is in a really problematic place. Venus is going to retrograde. It just did, in fact, go across conjuncting Saturn and Neptune in the transits in Pisces, and they're a matter of conversation here as well. But Venus will spend most of March in conjunction with Saturn as it retrogrades back into Pisces and Saturn moves forward in Pisces. So this is a time of great adjustment in terms of your long-term relationships and making plans in that direction or whatever. So if you have something coming up, this is a time that is actually very serious, and the motivation right now might be to act in haste and repent in leisure, but it's I'm not telling you to not take action because it's really important to, but basically be aware that this is a time of reorientation. Lots of stuff going on politically that I keep wanting to avoid talking about because this is not a commentary on. This is a commentary on our personal lives and our personal dealings and our ability to have compassion for each other. And so, as Venus dips back into Pisces in the next few weeks, that's going to become rampant. And we're going to end the cycle with Venus just hanging out with Neptune there. And a lot of insight is drawn. And it may not be really clear right now, but by the middle of, after this eclipse cycle goes on in the month of March, April is going to present itself with lots of opportunities and lots of awareness. So take advantage of that. And then in other news, there's a lunar eclipse on the night of the 13th, 14th of March. Now, we say both nights because it's pretty strong around midnight. It goes on for about 5 hours. Under a lunar eclipse, the moon turns a fire red, just like Jimi Hendrix talks about, and it's like a blood moon. Well, go figure. There's all kinds of portents with that, and again, I'm not going to go national, international, or cultural that way at this time, because it doesn't help the personal situation as much. So the moon, moods, emotions, and feelings. Expect your stuff to be coming up right now. Also, lost opportunities, and you're checking in with your karma, your dharma, your right path, and what you should be doing there. Now, some people will never be checking in with their karma, but their karma will check in with them eventually. And so then, total lunar eclipse, the evening of the 13th going to the 14th, and that's also the time period when we have quite a few other things going on. And then there's the solar eclipse. There's always a pair with the eclipses, and some of them are visible, some of them are not. They get more press if they're visible. This solar eclipse occurs right 2 weeks after the lunar eclipse, and will be in Aries. So it's going to really stimulate that personal will and the personal rising from the collective. Right now, there's lots of collective concerns going on right now, but we have to be aware of the next part of the cycle is, where are you at? How are you acting? How are you reacting? And you can expect a real shift by the end of this month. and going into April. And so, solar eclipse is strongest right off of the right off the coast of Northeast America, and up into Greenland and all those places. So you might see something on the East Coast, but not complete. Not the dramatic display that we just got a few years ago. That being said, it's not about that. It's gonna be about feeling. It's gonna be about there's always a shift going on around those times, and us astrologers were very much a part of our calling was to serve those in power and give them readings, and it was the big one was always about eclipses and that sort of thing. So we may see a change in the papacy. We may even see weird stuff in in this country as well. But what's important is there is going to be a shift at that time, and then the final phase of this kind of cycle of shifts is Saturn and Neptune. Neptune moving into Aries. So here's the solar eclipse in Aries. Here's next lunation, Sun and Moon in Aries. Here's Neptune moving into Aries on the day of the solar eclipse. Neptune only changes sign every 15, 16 years. So this is a bellwether change going from Neptune and Pisces. It's about compassion, people, beliefs, and then moving into a phase of action and all that. And, getting a fresh start, there could be some good stuff in there. But Neptune will slip back into Pisces when it goes retrograde, and there'll be one more bout of the karmic themes that we've been going through here. And so, a lot coming up. You sure you don't want to get your reading yet? Because this is a good time for a check-in. Everything is changing right now. If you feel like your life is solid and nothing is changing, you don't need a reading. The rest of you can contact me at astrowizardry.com and astrowizardry@gmail. And so, because there's just so much going on right now, and I would like to break it down even further, but that gets to the individual level. So if you feel you're at all influenced by the Sun, the Moon, Venus, or Mars, or any of the planets, contact me. Also, it's usually the big news each time if Mercury is going retrograde. And yes, Mercury is moving into its typical 3-week retrograde next week. And so basically we can experience brain melt at the same time. But you know what? Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, these are very much about releasing from the past. So we can actually use this as a springboard to get over some old baggage, some old concepts, some old ways of dealing with each other, and use that Pluto and Aquarius to visualize and present a new transformative path. So love to help you do that. I'm available, and yes, it is one of the craziest, probably the craziest time I've seen on the planet. So yep, sure enough. So contact me, and otherwise have a really great life, and within a few months time this will all make a lot more sense. So wishing you well.